looked and watched a pattern. Some communities that have said no and some states that have said no to gambling have done very well. For example, when I arrived in Omaha, we had been here in 1996, I think, fighting. And at that time, the casinos were in Council Bluffs, the building cranes were up, and a case could be made. They're getting in, we should get in. But it seems to me you've had tremendous development over the past 8 years.
Almost prospering. And the argument is made, all these people are going over to Iowa. But I would say this, if you had a house with a nice lawn, and you had a neighbor, and they had a Chihuahua, and that dog occasionally strayed over to your lawn and fouled the lawn, your reaction would not be to go out and buy him a Saint Bernard. I mean, you don't need more of it. I mean, it may be something that there are people in Nebraska. I get letters from them that have become addicted to gambling by going across the river. But I will guarantee you that if you open up the floodgates to casinos and various concentrations of slot machines in the state, you will have multiples of the number. You will have the Saint Bernards of addicts as opposed to the Chihuahuas of addicts that presently exist. And we're not going to stop gambling, and we're not going to stop people from going over to Iowa. And I'm sympathetic to them because most of them, overwhelming number of them, are going to be losers, and they may have an occasional thrill of winning, but those casinos cost money to operate, and it's coming out of the pockets of Nebraskans. But there would be far more coming out of the pockets of Nebraskans if we opened up throughout the state.
We've been very clear in terms of the experience of gambling. It's not from outer space, so it's something that we've been able to look at, and is that the more available and accessible you make gambling, common sense says, the more addictive it becomes. Workers that might go for lunch hour or right after work will start to frequent. So. But it seems to me that what we have then is the hope that we can inform voters, get information to them, and certainly a discussion that talks about the economics of gambling is tremendously important. It seems to me that that you've been able to share with us some insights that get at that. I think where the danger comes, and what I would want you to maybe look at, is are we in a position where something has been marketed on a public that is somewhat unsuspecting? If this is marketed as, quote, gaming, and it's entertainment like shopping in the movies, it seems to me that we need some protection from that type of thing.
I'm not sure how much entertainment it is. I would invite 10 people that like to play slot machines to come down to the office, and we'll just give them a room for 8 hours a day and let them play the slot machines all year. I will guarantee all 10 will be losers at the end of the year. And we'll give them all the money back so that they break even. I doubt if they would really want to spend their year doing that. I mean, even though they would come out better than they would if they went someplace else. I do not see a great joy on the faces of people sitting in front of slot machines as I look around.
But you do see the winners that are posted in the newspaper, I won 10,000. Is it a selling of a hope?
It's selling hope. That's exactly what it is. And you know, people sell hope in terms of perfume that you're going to attract men, or or facelifts, in terms of whatever it may be. There's a lot of hope being sold in the world. I think it's very cynical of the state of Nebraska to sell false hopes. And if you were taking 1,700,000 people in the state of Nebraska, and you're going to say, on behalf of the state, you're going to say, I want to take hundreds of millions of dollars from practically all of you so that I can stick a couple people's name up there as winners. I don't think there's anything hardly more cynical than that.
I shared with you the fact that Prime America did a survey looking at the people's attitudes about how to take care of their future, and that 25% of America now believes that hitting a lottery is the only way they can really take care of a retirement. And it goes up to 40% if they make less than $35,000. Wouldn't that run counter to everything that you've stood for in terms of?
I can understand that as part of human nature. If you take 1 million people, and 50 of them, or 30, or some number out of that million, are going to change their circumstances dramatically for the better, but you're going to have the other 999,000 plus who are going to lose the ability to take their family to a movie, to buy a toy for their kid at Christmas, or worse yet, become an addict and lose everything they have, including their self-respect, and break up their family. I just think that's a terrible trade-off.
And you would probably have, as your own life would attest, you've invested in what you would consider to be some sure things.
Well, that's why I bought the machine and had my kids play it, yeah.
But you had some other things too that
Well,
you've
no, but
invested
that was
in.
one of my best businesses. I mean, for several weeks there, I was getting back that allowance every week.
Well, I think that what you've shared with us is tremendously important, because this is something that has not had a thorough airing in the public arena. It tends to be a lot of money is spent on the pro-gambling side of cutting television, the commercials, the direct mailing, and very often it's our people against that money and political muscle, and we really rely on word of mouth and people talking to one another. We do believe, though, that you can build on strengths, that we think our communities and our future is best done when we really invest in the future.
The people that I hear from every day, the people who are broke, they don't have a dime to put into this campaign. I mean, it's the people who are not going to keep the money in Nebraska but take the money out of Nebraska who are coming in. They're not writing checks on Omaha banks, or Lincoln banks. They're writing checks in this case on Nevada banks. And incidentally, I kind of like the idea of Nevada existing like it does. I think that to the extent that you have a place where there's a destination resort and people can go and sort of take advantage like I do. I go to shows out there, but I don't gamble. And having it inaccessible is a real plus when you're dealing with something that can be addictive. It should not be easily accessible.
Well, it seems to me, on the other hand, too, that we're talking about something that people do. 8 out of 10
Sure.
Americans bet, and I'm sure when Nebraska plays football, it's somewhat patriotic to make sure that you're supporting the Big Red.
Yeah, that's quite a phrase.
This is something which I think we're really asking people to do, to think through the implications of wide open casino gambling and the promises that are made and whether they can be delivered on.
Tom, if I bet you on the Pittsburgh game though this Saturday, your winnings, if you win, will equal my losses or vice versa. That is not the game that they're talking about with these two amendments. They are talking about something where hundreds of millions of dollars leave the citizenry and go into the pockets of somebody else. So it's one thing to wager $5 on a golf game or $25 or $50, but that is a game where the winning is equal to the losers losing. That is not what we're talking about with casinos.
It was somewhat even with racetracks when they bet common pools, people were betting against one another, but this is take the entire
well,
pot.
although in the case of the racetracks, they were taking out 15% usually in terms of pari-mutuel. But something where somebody is extracting something every time, the somebody has a big interest in having that kind of transaction take place.
Would you go so far as to, is this a predatory product?
Well, I think it's, yeah, sure. I think if I were governor of the state, and I had the power either to have something like this take place or not. Not that that's the case, you need to but I would feel that if I put in something that took the money out of particularly people from lower income situations, caused many of them to become addicted, caused many of them to go broke, caused many of them to have families break up, I would just say, we don't need it. I mean, if somebody wants to do that in some other state, fine, but that's really not what I think Nebraska is all about.
And then we should be a little bit suspicious of anyone saying, I'm from Las Vegas and I'm here to help you.
Well, that's usually true, yeah. And they should be suspicious of me if I go out there and say the same thing, that I'm from Nebraska.
And I'm enjoying your shows and not leaving your money in covering.
Yeah, well, I tried to take advantage of them. I mean, in the old days, the shows used to be subsidized by the casino, but now they've got them more on a full cost basis. But it's still a fun place to go to. I do not knock it. But one thing interesting about Las Vegas, if you talk to anybody that operates out there, is they say it's contrary to the laws of economics in a sense, because they say demand rises to meet supply. And that says a lot about gambling. I mean, they say when they got to 30,000 rooms or to 40,000 rooms, people said you're going to saturate. They haven't hit saturation because demand rises to meet supply. And what we're talking about in Nebraska is increasing the supply. And the demand will grow to that, and the demand is from losers.
We also have noticed what I call the slotification of gambling, as opposed to games of skill. Yeah. James Bond with the blonde on his arm walking in and using superior mental powers to win and beat the house. With slot machines, it seems to me that what we're really talking about here is not even giving the sucker.
The slots have taken over. I mean, craps, roulette, all of those things have diminished enormously in relation to the power of slots because it requires no mental effort whatsoever, and they've arranged it now so you can make these multiple bets and really feed the kitty fast. And the game is simply to get the most dollars through the machine. And if you get $500 an hour through a machine and you've got a 6% edge, you're going to get $30 an hour out of that machine. And the truth is you need to get a lot of money out of that machine because machines are probably more expensive now, but the last time I looked, the machines were running about $6,000. I mean, if you've got a $6,000 machine to earn its keep and you want to get 100%, you've got to have a lot of money go through there. And machines are ideal for that. They don't eat, they don't get health benefits. They just sit there, and occasionally a guy comes around to fix one if it has a problem. But basically, it's not labor intensive, and it's seductive. They have lots of bells and whistles, and all of the things they've learned will seduce people. And that's why people sit on stools and just sit there and feed away their savings.
You could the learning curve would be you would have the IQ of a canned ham and walk into a casino and be able to start playing and losing that money.
Yeah, well, or you could be an Einstein and the same thing would happen to you. If you were Einstein, you'd lose X percent, whatever that machine set for over time.
It's the great evener then of making losers of everybody.
That's right. Yeah, everybody's equal in front of that machine.
Well, this has been, you cannot know how much we appreciate those of us that have fought gambling. In a sense, it isn't George saying to Ethel over coffee, what Nebraska needs is casino gambling. Let's organize the block and let's petition our government to bring it in and go find a company. This is really being brought in from the outside.
Sure.
And it's going to take citizens. Let me say this, I'm not a betting person, but anytime informed people walk into a ballot box and they vote their best hopes, and hopes for their neighbors and what they want for the future of their children and grandchildren. I'm firmly convicted across this country that we've seen states reject more gambling, just saying enough is enough. And certainly your ability to share with us today from your experience and love of this state really is going to make a tremendous difference. And my hope is that on Election Day, the bet that I didn't place will be covered by the good people of Nebraska, and these two proposals will be defeated.
Tom, every Nebraskan will have a chance to say what kind of a state they want to craft for their children. I mean, they can. That's what the ballot is doing, and in the process, they're teaching their children something about the kind of state they want to have. They're teaching about what government should be all about, and that's what we have a democracy for.
Well, and as I said, I think both of us might trust that the good people of Nebraska will do what's right for the future. Thank you, Warren.
Thank you.
Please join Warren Buffett, Tom and Nancy Osborne, Governor Mike Johans, and other prominent Nebraskans voting no on all casino proposals this November. For more information about the statewide effort of Nebraskans standing up for the good life, please call 402-496-2274 or log on to www.gamblingwiththegoodlife.com.
Hi, I'm Nancy Osborne. As a mother and a grandmother, I'm making a personal plea that you stand with me and vote no this November to keep casinos out of Nebraska. Some say they want to keep the money in Nebraska. The truth is, most casino profits don't stay in the state. They make a U-turn and head straight to Las Vegas. Nebraska is a wonderful place to live and raise a family. I know that firsthand, but the facts are, if we approve casinos, that could all change. Please protect Nebraska's good life. On November 2nd, vote no to all initiatives on casino gambling.